By Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, nowhere to hide. University student caught drug racketeering as Sri Lanka's war on drugs intensified. Sink or swim. Tea Exporters Association rings alarm bells over the island's tea production.
Problem in the production is the lack of replanting. Cost of replanting of a hectare is between 3.5 million to 5 million rupees.
Kenya and India, they produce approximately 650 to 700 kilograms per month per acre, whereas in Sri Lanka average varies between 350 to 400 kilograms.
Full field. Former MP Arjuna Ranatunga too enters UNP leadership race. Awaiting open-eyed. His Eminence the Cardinal renews calls for justice for Easter attack victims. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Sunday, the 30th of August, 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then Dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanagan. Now let's start you off with your local stories. Law enforcement authorities have made several arrests with regard to suspects involved in drug racketeering over the weekend. Hangwala police uncovered a drug racket operated by a 27-year-old university student with the aid of a dealer in Biagama. Here's a roundup of the latest in the war against drugs and the underworld.
The Hangwala police raided a house located in the area of Pahatgama yesterday following a tip-off. During the operation, the police arrested a 27-year-old who had rented a room at the house with 20.5 grams of heroin in his possession. It was revealed that the arrested suspect is a student at the private university in the area of Malabe. Interrogations of the suspect revealed that the drugs which he obtains from a dealer in Biagama is packeted and sold in his locality of Balangoda. The drug racket is operated by him from the rented room by hiding these drug packets in various locations in the area of Balangoda. The suspect has used the Easy Cash platform to obtain payments. What's more, the police also arrested the individual who supplied the private university student with drugs last evening. The 45-year-old suspect from Biagama was arrested with 55 grams of heroin in his possession. Elsewhere in Dehiwala, a couple was arrested by the Dehiwala police while distributing heroin from the station road last evening. 40 grams of heroin was seized from the possession of the suspects at the time of the arrest. In the meantime, the investigation unit of the Colombo North Crime Division arrested a drug racketeer, Deepika Kumari Randanige, alias Mole Chuti, while engaging in drug dealing in the area of Navagampura in Grand Pass yesterday. The police found nearly 20 grams of heroin during a search operation conducted at her house. What's more, it was revealed that a sum of approximately 10 million rupees has been transacted via several of her bank accounts within the past few days. In a separate development, the Navagamo police arrested an accomplice of Ishara Lakmal, who's the chief suspect in Kerala cannabis smuggling to the country and was recently arrested while attempting to flee to Dubai with 3 other suspects, including Valle Saranga. The suspect named Vitanage Gayan Hemanta was arrested yesterday from the area of Vallampetia with 3 kilograms of Kerala cannabis and 4 grams of crystal methamphetamine, also known as ice, in his possession. Furthermore, 3 vehicles and 69,300 rupees of cash were also seized by the police. Meanwhile, a police constable who was interdicted while serving at the Suryaveva police station was arrested with 2.27 grams of heroin at the Singha fishery village in Koggala yesterday. The arrested suspect is a drug addict and the police suspect that the interdicted constable might be drug racketeering. In the meantime, Commissioner General of Prisons Tusharo Pullenia says that the capacity of prisons have exceeded since more suspects were arrested related to drugs during the past 2 months.
මත්කුඩු භාවිතයට ඇබ්බැහිවුවන් ජාවාරම් කරන පුද්ගලයන් පසුගිය මාස දෙක තුළ වැඩි වශයෙන් බන්ධනාගාර ගතවීම සිද්ධ වෙනවා. මේ නිසා බන්ධනාගාර ජනගහනය 6000කින් පමණ වැඩි වෙලා තිනවා. බන්ධනාගාර තුළ රැඳවිය හැකි ධාරිතාවය 11762ක් වෙනවා. මේ වන විට බන්ධනාගාර ජනගහනය 29500ක් පමණ වෙනවා. මේ වන විට තියෙන තදබදයත් වර්තමානයේ බන්ධනාගාර නිලධාරීන්ගේ හිඟතාවයත් හේතු කොටගෙන පස් අවුරුදු සැලැස්මක් අපි සකස් කළා ලබන සතිය වෙනකොට මේක ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය භාවිතා කරන රැඳවියන් අපි විකල්ප පුනරුත්ථාපන ක්‍රමවේදයකට යොමු කිරීමේ හැකියාව සාකච්ඡා කරමින් පවතිනවා.
Now, an unusual tremor occurred in some areas in the Kandy district last night, with the tremor only being recorded at the seismic station located in Pallekele. Earthquakes are not common in Sri Lanka, and the cause of the tremor is yet to be ascertained. Now, Director General of the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau says that the activities should at least be reported from 3 institutions to make any definitive remarks.
An unusual earth tremor took place in few areas of the Kandy district at 8:30 last night. The effect of this tremor was felt strongly in the areas of Anuragama, Talatuoya, Haragama, Digana and Kundasale. However, this earth tremor seemed different as cracks were also found in the grounds at several areas in Anuragama, Digana and other areas, since this sort of phenomenon could only be observed during an earthquake. There are 4 seismic stations which have been set up in the country. However, this tremor was only recorded at the seismic center in Pallekele. In the meantime, an investigation pertaining to this earth tremor was conducted today by a team of officials at the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau.
අපි අද නිරීක්ෂණය කරා මේ කම්පනයේ වැඩිපුරම දැන්ලා තියෙන අඹකොටේ දිගන හාරගම මයිලපිටිය කියන ප්‍රදේශවලට ඒ අනුව අපි ඉදිරියේදී මේ ප්‍රදේශයේ තියෙන භූවිද්‍යාත්මක පිහිටීමත් ඒ වගේ කරුණු අධ්‍යයනය කරලා අපි සොයා බලනවා මොකද්ද මේකට හේතු වෙන සාධකය කියලා. අපිට ඉතිහාසය ගත්තොත් මේ ප්‍රදේශයේ ජලාශ පිරවීම නිසා ඇතිවෙන භූකම්පන තත්ත්ව ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක හැබැයි එක හේතුවක් විතරයි. අපිට මේකට හරියටම ඒකද හේතුව කියලා කියන්න බෑ. නමුත් මේ දැන් මේ සිද්ධ වුණ කම්පනයේ එහෙම හානියක් වෙන තරම්
However, it is not yet certain whether this tremor was a natural event caused by a seismic shift.
මේක භූකම්පන තත්ත්වයක් නොවුනත් කාර්යාංශ හැටියට අපි තීරණය කරා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඇති වෙලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය නිරීක්ෂණය කරන්න අපිට ලංකාවේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන 4ක් තිබුණාට මේ එක මධ්‍යස්ථානයක විතරයි මේක වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මොනවා හරි එකක් හරියට කියන්න නම් අඩුම ගානේ මධ්‍යස්ථාන 3කින් මේක වාර්තා වෙන්න ඕනේ.
Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, once more called on the government to bring about justice to the victims of the Easter Sunday terror attacks, saying that some members of the previous government are still trying to save their own skin. The Cardinal's comments came during the anointing of the sick at the National Basilica of Our Lady of Lanka in Thevatta, which was worked off today.
මම රජයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා ආගම සහ භාෂාව පදනම් කරගත්තු පක්ෂ ඔක්කොම තානම් කරන්න කියලා. ඒ වයින් කරන්නේ රට බෙදීම විතරයි. තවමත් අපි S2 අරගෙන බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා. මොකද වෙන්න යන්නේ කියලා මේ අපේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයේ වරදකරුවන් කවුද කියලා. දැනට මේ පැවැත්වෙන වග විභාග වීම තුලින් සොයාගෙන යන්නේ Tamanගේ වගකීම ඉටු නොකරපු දේශපාලනඥයන් සහ නිලධාරීන් කවුද කියලා හොයාගන්න එකයි කරන්නේ. නමුත් මේ බෝම්බ තියපු අය, මේවට සල්ලි දුන්න අය, මේවා පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්න අය කවුද කියන එක හොයලා නැහැ තාම. මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ජනාධිපති කොමිසමෙන් මේ සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධව එය පිටුපස්සේ ඉන්න අය සොයාගෙන යනවා නම් වඩාත් හොඳයි කියලා. ඒ වගේම රජයෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා අපිට දුන්නු පොරොන්දුව මේ වැඩපිළිවෙල පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්න අය කවුද කියලා හොයලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට දඬුවම් කරන්න කටයුතු කරනවා කියපු එක ඒ පොරොන්දුව ඉෂ්ට කරાવી කියලා මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. තාම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ සිද්ධියට සම්බන්ධ වුණ මේ වගේ දේවල් කරන්නට රහසිගතව කුමන්ත්‍රණය කළ අයට සාධාරණේ ඉෂ්ට කරයි කියලා. එහෙම කරන්නේ නැතුව ඒගොල්ලන්ව හිමිහිට හංගල එළියට දාන්න කටයුතු කරනවා නම් යම් කිසි රජයක් ඒ රජයට මම විරුද්ධත්වය ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා. ඉස්සෙල්ලා තිබිච්ච ආණ්ඩුව මේක හරියට විමර්ශනය කළේ නැහැ. හොඳටම කරුණු දැනගෙන ඉඳද්දිත් ඒ ගැන මුකුත් කළේ නැහැ. තාමත් ඇඟ බේර ගන්න හදනවා. මෙච්චර දැනගෙන ඉඳලා ජනාධිපති කොමිසමට ගිහිල්ලා නිලධාරීන් කඳුළු වගුරන එක වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒවා කිඹුල් කඳුළු. ඒ වෙලාවේ Tamanට පැවරෙන වගකීම ඉටු කළේ නැත්තේ ඇයි? එහෙම නොකරපු නිලධාරීන්ගේ ඔය යුනිෆෝම් ගලවලා දාන්න ඕනේ.
Now, former United National Party MP AdaDerana too has expressed his desire to become the next leader of the United National Party. It comes at a time when former Speaker Karu Jayasuriya and former United National Party MP Ruwan Vijayawardena are heavily linked with the position. Vijayawardena meanwhile insists that his relationship with UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe will play no part in the next leader being decided, but stresses that should not be Sajith Premadasa who broke away from the party.
Former parliamentarian of the United National Party Ruwan Vijayawardena called on the chief prelate of the Malwatha chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Sumangala Thera this morning. Vijayawardena then called on the chief prelate of the Askiriya chapter, Most Venerable Warkagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thera. The former MP also met with the registrar of the Askiriya chapter, Venerable Dr. Madagama Sri Dhammananda Thera.
උළුමේකුත් තිබෙන ඒ වගේම දැන්පත් කටයුතු කරන කායිකත් කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන් නායකත්වයක් ගන්න කෙනෙක් පක්ෂයක පත්වෙන්න පෙරට තියෙන දෙවැන්ත දේශපාලන පක්ෂයක් අතට විශාල මෙහෙවරක් කරපු සජාතික පක්ෂය කියන්නේ ඒක අභාවයට යනවට අපි කවුරුත් කැමති නැහැ.
Afterwards, Vijayawardena was quizzed by the media on the UNP leadership.
නව නායකත්වයට රුවන් විජේවර්ධන මහතා මේනකට ඇඳුම් මාලා ඉවරද?
යම් කිසි මතයක් හැදලා තියෙනවා දැන් අලුත් නායකත්වයක් අවශ්‍යයි කියලා තරුණ නායකත්වයක් අවශ්‍යයි කියලා. ඉතින් මේගොල්ලන්ගේ ඉල්ලීමට මේ සැරේ මමත් නායකත්වයට ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා කියලා මම තීරණයක් ගත්තා. ඉතින් මම හිතනවා ලබන සුමානේ අපේ කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලය රැස් වෙනවා. හරි තීරණයක් ගනී කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
නමුත් මේ ඡන්ද විමසීමක් මගින්ද සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ?
අපි පුළුවන් තරම් බලනවා මේක යම් කිසි සහයෝගයකින් කතා වෙලා තීරණයක් ගනී කියලා අපි හිතනවා. කරන්න බැරි වුණොත් ඉතින් ඡන්ද විමසීමකින් කවුරු හරි පත් වෙයි.
සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතාට නායකත්වය දුන්නේ නැත්තේ ඥාති පුත්‍රයා වන රුවන් විජේවර්ධනට පක්ෂ නායකත්වය දෙන්න රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතාගේ සැලසුම් කියලා කියනවා ඇත්තද?
ඒක නම් පිළිගන්නේ නැහැ. මං හිතන්නේ කවදාකවත් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා මෙච්චර කල්ලන් හිටියේ මට දෙන්න කියලා නෙවෙයි. එතුමා කවදාකවත් ඥාතීන්ට එහෙම අවස්ථාවක් හදන්න නැති නායකයෙක්. එතුමා සුදුසුට සුදුසු තැන දෙන සාවරික තමයි හිටියේ.
පාක්ෂිකයා කියන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා ඇතුළු පැලන්ති එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂේ කෑවයි කියනවා.
අපේ පක්ෂයෙන් එක වැරදිත් වුණා. ඒක අපි පිළිගන්නට ඕනේ. ඒ නිසා පාක්ෂිකයන් අතරත් දැඩි කැලකිරීමක් ඇති වෙලා තිබුණා.
සමග ජනබලයේ ලේකම්තුමා රංජිත් මද්දුම් බණ්ඩාර මහතා ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තියෙනවා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් එකතු කරගෙන සමග ජනබලයේ සන්දානයකට යමු කියලා. ඔබතුමා නායකත්වයට આવොත් එවැනි සන්දානයකට ආරාධනා කළොත් යනවද?
කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මොකද එතන සමග ජනබලවේගෙන් තින්නේ ඉතින් අපේ එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයෙන් ගිහිලා ඉන්නේ අපේ සහෝදර മന്ത്രി කණ්ඩායමක් තමයි එතන ඉන්නේ. ඉතින් එතුමාලත් එක්ක අපිට සාකච්ඡා කරලා ඉදිරියේදී රට වෙනුවෙන් හරි ස්ථාවරයක් හරි තීරණයක් ගන්නට පුළුවන් කියලා මම හිතනවා.
යම් කිසි මතයක් තියෙනවා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතාටත් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂේ නායකත්වය ලබා දෙන්න ඉල්ලීම්.
මොනවාවත් දැන් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයා අපේ පක්ෂයෙන් ඉවත් වෙලා ගිහිලා වෙනත් පක්ෂයක් දැන් හදාගෙන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්නවා. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී පක්ෂයේ දැනට සමාජිකත්වයක් අරන් කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ සමාජිකයෙක් හැටියට වැඩ කරන කෙනෙක් තමයි මම හිතන්නේ නායකත්වයට එන්නට ඕනේ.
In the meantime, MP Arjuna Ranatunga also touched on the UNP leadership.
දැනට නම් 7ක් යෝජනා වෙලා තියෙනවා. මගේ නමත් යෝජනා කරා. හැබැයි පක්ෂ තීරණය කරනවා නම් මට මේක බාර දෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා මම මේක බාර අරගෙන යනවා.
දැන් රුවන් විජේවර්ධන මහතාත් නායකත්වයට එන බව කියනවා.
ඔව් එක එක්කෙනාට එක එක ආසාවල් තියෙනවා. මේ නායකයෝ කියන්නේ බුද්ධලේ එන එකකුත් නැත්තම් පරම්පරාවෙන් එන නායකත්වයකුත් නෙමෙයි. පළපුරුද්දක් තියෙන පුද්ගලයෝ වෙන්න ඕනේ. මගේ නම් යෝජනාව තිබුණේ කරු ජයසූරිය මහත්මයාව දැනට නායකත්වයට ලබලා දීලා මේ පක්ෂය ඉදිරියට ගෙන යනවා. හැබැයි අපි මේ පක්ෂය එකට තියාගන්න එකට අකමැති පුද්ගලයෝ දැන්ටම අපිට තේරෙනවා මේක තමන්ගේ හිතවතුන්ට බාර දෙන ක්‍රමවේදයක්ද ගන්න කියලා. මම මේක ගැන හරි කලකිරෙනවා.
Minister of Power Dallas Alahapiram insinuates that the true electricity mafia in Sri Lanka lies within the parliament. Addressing an event of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, the minister highlighted the island's lack of a national power generation plan, saying officials are not at fault since the plans they draw are blocked by certain factions for monetary gains.
A meeting of the Hakmana Electoral Political Authority of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was worked off yesterday with the patronage of Minister of Power Dallas Alahapiram.
දැන් ඊයේ පෙරේද විදුලි පද්ධතියේ දෝෂයක් ඇති වුණා. වරද්ද විදුලි අධිකාරිවරයාගේ විතරක් නෙමෙයි. විදුලි බිඳවැටීම් වලදී මේ ගැන කමිටුපත් කළා. කියලා තිබුණත් ඒක ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙලා තිබුණේ නෑ. මම මොකද කරේ? කමිටුවපත් කළා. මම ගා ඊළඟ අඟහරුවාදා මට වාර්තාව ඕන. බදාද කැබිනට් එකට දැම්මා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සභාගත කරා. මෙන්න වාර්තාව. හංගන්න කිසිම දෙයක් නෑ. රටම කියවන්න. ඇයි අපිට ඕන නිවැරදි වෙන්න. අපිට ඕන මේ රටේ විදුලිය කියන්නේ අධි පාරිභෝගික භාණ්ඩයක් නොවන බව කියලා දෙන්න. විදුලි බිල අඩු කරන්න. ඉංජිනේරු මාෆියාව කියලා කියනවා. ඩීසල් මාෆියාව කියලා කියනවා. ඒ නිසා මේක කරගන්න බැරුණා කියලා කියනවා. නමුත් මිත්‍රවරුනි වර්තමාන ඇමතිවරයා විදිහට මම කියන්නට ඕන මාෆියාව තියෙන්නේ උතන නෙමෙයි. ඇත්ත විදුලි මාෆියාව තියෙන්නේ කොහෙද? දියවන්නාවේ ඇතුලේ. දියවන්නාවේ මාෆියාව තමයි ලංකාවට ජාතික විදුලි ජනන සැලැස්මක් හදන්න දෙන්නේ නැත්තේ. මෙරටේ ජාතික විදුලි ජනන සැලැස්මක් නැහැ. 2021 අපි මොනවද කරන්නේ? කොහෙද බලාගාර හදන්නේ? ඒ මොනවද? සූර්ය මොනවද? ජලයෙන් කොපමණද? එහෙම නැත්නම් සුළං බලයෙන් මොනවද? ඩීසල් විදුලි බලාගාර අඩු කරන්නේ කොහොමද? ඉංජිනේරු හදනවා. පාරිභෝගික අධිකාරිය හදනවා. හැදුවම එක වලක්වල කියනවා නෑ ඒක වැඩක් නෑ මෙන්න මේ බලාගාරය හදන්න. දැන් මේක ගේන්නේ. ඇයි? දන්නා හෝ නොදන්නා ගිණුමකට යමක් බැර වෙනවා. ඒ මාෆියාව එකයි මාෆියාව. මම ඉතින් වගකීමෙන් කියන්නේ. දියවන්නාව ඉන්න මගේ මිත්‍රයෝ මගේ තරහ වුණත් මට කාරණාවක් නෑ.
We will see you shortly. Bear with us.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, former parliamentarian D.E.W. Gunasekara has stepped down as the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Sri Lanka. Following his resignation, the party has appointed a new General Secretary for the party. Accordingly, Dr. G. Veerasinghe has been appointed to the post left vacant by Gunasekara. Now, tea is Sri Lanka's most cherished export and has been quiet for some time. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, all sectors the world over suffered. First at 9 wanted to find out how the island's tea industry fared during those trying months, and though the industry looks to be faring well, it could all go wrong if immediate interventions are not made.
Tea, a beverage indulged all over the world. As such, various tea-producing countries have secured a share of this lucrative market and they guard it jealously. Sri Lanka is one of them. Tea may have been introduced to the island by its former colonial masters, but it appears to have withstood the test of time as the country continues to generate valuable foreign exchange from this crop even long after the departure of the imperials. But did Sri Lanka's tea industry manage to withstand the ill effects brought on by the global pandemic COVID-19?
March 20th was the day where there was a lockdown in Sri Lanka, and it was a huge challenge for the entire tea industry, production, manufacturing and exports. But the tea industry rebounds back within just 2 weeks after the lockdown with a major initiative by the government who allowed the production to commence without any disruption. And within 2 weeks from the lockdown, there was a slight crop reduction due to COVID, but basically as time went on, with the engagement of all labor and transportation, everything, the factories were able to get back on time.
After the production side got back on track, the next challenge was the sale. There came a silver lining. Sri Lanka had been lagging behind in seeking modern-day solutions in the digital sphere, and with the limitations inflicted by the coronavirus, the hand was forced.
With the outcry system, we used to conduct a tea auction within 2 days. With the lockdown, we were not able to meet up in one place to have the auction. And with that, the Ceylon Tea Traders Association, along with the Brokers Association and the Tea Exporters Association, worked to develop a digital platform. The digital platform started with very little training. As a result of it, the 2-day auction, the first time it went on for 5 days. But as time went on, the tea exporters mastered it, and now we are conducting the digital auction on a usual manner within 2 days.
So it must be that all is well with Sri Lanka's tea industry. Well, not quite. In 2017, the island's overall tea production was 307,080 tonnes. But that dropped by 3,237 tonnes the following year. Then last year, the production slipped further to 300,134 tonnes. And this year, 156,377 tonnes of tea has been produced at the end of July. Climatic changes and non-availability of fertilizer are contributors to this dip in production. But there is another prominent factor.
The problem in the production is the lack of replanting, and the percentage of replanting is not more than 2% per year. And the main reason for that is the cost of replanting. And usually the cost of replanting of a hectare is between 3.5 million to 5 million rupees.
The matter has not gone unnoticed by the new government.
To counter that issue, immediately after coming to power, government has taken few measures to ensure that we improve the productivity of the available land. We will strengthen existing scheme to provide relief and grant for the aid for the new plantation and also for the replantation of tea in the country, and also to ensure that we provide more plants to the tea smallholders. We have started giving them a grant for 500 nurseries to be established in the country with the help of the funds from the tea board. By doing that, we expect to produce more tea plants of good quality in the country, and also to purchase these plants back to the tea smallholders, ensuring that we go ahead with the tea cultivation year in 2021. And also, we need to take into consideration most of the other tea producing countries like in Kenya and India, they are utilizing the virgin soil, whereas in Sri Lanka, we have used these soils beyond 130 years. So we are trying to nurture the soil. We are going to strengthen all those aspects to ensure that we produce more volume of tea in the country.
Sri Lanka might not be able to go shoulder to shoulder with global super tea producers China and India, whose annual output exceeds a minimum of 1 million tonnes. But this small island is in competition with the likes of Kenya and Turkey. Losing ground to them is not an option.
Sri Lanka is very famous for our orthodox teas, and we basically have a 46% market share of the orthodox tea market in the world. And going forward, I feel that we should really look at strengthening the orthodox tea market and not really concentrate very much on the CTC, as we have stiff competition from countries like Kenya and India who produces mass production.
Productivity of the Sri Lankan tea is also at a much lower level. If you consider Kenya and India, they produce approximately 650 to 700 kilograms per month per acre, whereas in Sri Lanka, average varies between 350 to 400 kilograms. So we are trying to improve the productivity by replanting and also by providing necessary plants for the intermediary section. And also we encourage farmers to utilize more irrigation. There is a serious change in the climatic patterns of the country, where we experience very prolonged periods of drought. During that period of time, actually during first few months of this year also, because of this prolonged drought, we experienced a lot of damage to the tea cultivation, and we now encourage farmers to have more shade and also to have some irrigation, for which the government will also initiate and introduce a new loan scheme to facilitate such activities.
The COVID-19 pandemic did not spare any country in the world, and it is no secret that the global economy is faced with its worst crisis to date. What's more, some countries were already struggling on the economic front even before the pandemic came along, dealing a mighty blow.
Most of our markets which we are dealing at the moment, which is like Turkey, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, all these are in economic difficulties, and also they are going through a lot of hardships. In order to move forward, we are trying to look at the new markets, and the new markets which we are looking at is China, USA, Chile, Saudi Arabia, East and West African markets.
Sri Lanka is heavily invested in increasing its export revenue, and away from traditional tea exports, value addition is another element that springs to mind. That may entail importing tea into the island. However, it is a very sensitive subject, accompanied by clear risks, which has the potential to destroy the Ceylon tea brand in the eyes of the world. From this standpoint, it looks as if Sri Lanka's tea industry is in a bubble. So it is essential that the country addresses the matter before that bubble bursts.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, entrepreneur and industrialist Samantha Kumarasinghe calls on local industries to explore international markets for value addition without fearing multinational companies. After following the same formula, the chairman of Nature's Beauty Creations says that his company has successfully entered the export market for soap and has gained a foothold.
Sri Lanka has been reiterating its desire to increase its export revenue, especially after the strains inflicted by the coronavirus pandemic. The government too is encouraging value addition as a means to achieve this end. With that being the case, the chairman of the Nature's Beauty Creations, Samantha Kumarasinghe, wants Sri Lankan entrepreneur to be fearless in entering global markets, since strategies used by multinational companies create opportunities and vacancies for local entrepreneurs.
Soap market in the world is about 24 billion US dollars. But Sri Lanka has not been able to get into this market because for about 20 years, Sri Lanka has not had toilet soap in the market. Instead of that, from 2000 onwards, there was bathing bars appearing as soap in the market. So they were only catering to the local market and the product was not high in quality to reach the global market. So that was the reality that we understood. And because people were misled by selling bathing bars as soap, we introduced a real toilet soap to the market as Misumi. So with that, we have educated the Sri Lankan consumer as well as given them a good quality product that they can without any fear use as a real soap. And because of these quality principles of our company, we have been able to get into the export markets for many years. And we are only 3 years in Sri Lankan market. We have not only won the hearts of the consumer in Sri Lanka, but also we have been able to get into export markets now. And at the same time, there were many benefits enjoyed by the multinationals operating in Sri Lanka that were not available for the Sri Lankan soap manufacturer. We have been able to talk to the governments in the recent years and then able to change these differences, and now Sri Lankan soap manufacturers have an equal playing field to compete with these multinationals and get into the export markets globally, which is a huge 24 billion US dollar market, which is growing at a very good rate today because of the COVID-19 impact. So that kind of market is opening up. We have entered this market setting an example to the other Sri Lankan soap manufacturers that there is room for them also to get into the export market. We believe that this huge global soap market is big enough for all Sri Lankan soap manufacturers to share by selling the right quality, right TFM soaps to the Sri Lankan consumer as well as to the global consumer.
Now, a mixed reaction is expected at the Colombo stock market in the upcoming week as the month end is on a Monday. Sri Lankan stocks closed lower for a fourth session last Friday, which was dragged down by losses in communication services and consumer staples stocks. Equity market turnover was 1.04 billion rupees. Now, let's have a look at what we can expect in the stock market in the coming week.
We expect the market will have a mixed reaction because the month end falling on a Monday, we experienced this kind of session in the last 3 days. The market was very negative and the retail investors are falling on the sideline. And for the second half of the week, we might see the high net worth individual and the funds might come and active in the next session. And we might see the Super September as always in last few years.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.